Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everyone in the flight sim world. This is Viperstrike 95 Flight Sim, and we are back with our around the world trip, day number 18 of our trip. Yep, we're reaching 18 days of our flight sim, and today we're actually here back at Chedai International, just outside of Georgetown, Guyana, right in the town of Tamaheri. And I hope you guys are doing well today. I hope you enjoy your week so far. Happy Friday to everyone, and a great kick. And let's kick off the weekend right with our around the world trip. So today we'll be going to Suriname next, a fascinating little country in South America with a very cool history to learn about. Yeah, great to have you guys here, and thank you all so much for coming. So we're here at the airport here in our Cessna 172 as we prepare for today's flight. So this is a two-leg stream, around 238 nautical miles total with two legs. So before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. We have our trusty moderator, Super Typhon here. Good to see you, and all the people lurking in chat. Thank you guys for coming here. So let's go over briefly look over the flight plan. So today's flight plan is this. This is our we start here at SYCJ-SMNI-SMJP International. We'll take off at runway 24, circle around back, fly along the Demara Demar, Demar, Demerara River, and go up all the way to the capital city of Georgetown. We'll be flying around there, fly around Georgetown. And then after Georgetown, we'll make our way over east along southeast across the coast, including flying over Adelphi and New Amsterdam, and make our first stop at Sierra Mike November, India, at Major Fernandez Airport along the coast, which is basically we just go across the border. Then from there, we'll go east, continue along the coast, and then reach our way to the capital city of Suriname at Paramaribo. We'll be checking out the city before heading down south to our final stop at J.A. Pengo International Airport at Sierra Mike Juliet Papa. Yeah, we only got two legs today, and the reason I wanted to stick with the coast is because I don't know if the terrain's going to be any good in the interior, so I think it would be pretty good to stay around the coast. Plus the capital's right on the coast, so both capitals are on the coast, so I think that would be more interesting to check out. So, of course, you guys probably know the Cessna 172. It's an absolute workhorse plane. Goes around 123 knots. Has a range of over 500 nautical miles, over 600 nautical miles. Here's for people. It just does everything you want in a GA plane. Nothing more, nothing less. But it makes it a pretty nice plane for this journey of the trip. So, and it's one of the easier planes to get in the sim to get started. Battery and alternator. Okay, nice. So, thankfully, though, the good news about today's stream for for this is we don't have to be at a really high altitude. We could be at 1500 for the entire stream. So we could be at really low altitude. So it should be a nice simple flight. We only got 2 legs today. And today we'll be covering all about Suriname today. So this should be a pretty nice flight. Suriname definitely would be a really cool place to check out. And both legs are pretty similar distance. Second leg is obviously the longer of the two, but the first leg should still be over 100 nautical miles distance. And, and okay, okay, let's gear up the yard. If you guys want to join on in, you can definitely take something that can keep up with the Cessna 172 planes, such as the Diamond DA-40, the X-Cub. You can definitely take that. You can take a lot of different aircraft. Go ahead and get this Cessna up in the air. Anyway, go and go. So once we get to Georgetown, we'll be flying. We're going to fly this leg 19.3 nautical miles and reach the capital city of Georgetown, Guyana. So after we fly through the capital, we'll get started with our Suriname lecture and some learning stuff. We'll get to learn all about Suriname today. Should be a fun and interesting activity for sure. See, if you guys want to know what I've been doing over the past couple days, I've been working on some admin stuff. I've been mainly working on a document for Austin Bergstrom. It's a potential something for the VA to get to know about. So we're finally climbing up to our max altitude. We're going down through. There's the Demerara River. If you look to our right, there is the Demerara River. This is the main river, one of the main rivers to Suriname. The other one is the Essequibo River. Um, Pretty cool stuff. And here is the capital city of Georgetown. Now, if you remember back in our last lecture, Georgetown is known for its British colonial architecture, including the St. George Cathedral and the Stobrook Market, for some of the places in Georgetown, Guyana, that were definitely worth visiting, uh, for sure. Here's Georgetown, Guyana, right ahead of us. Definitely a pretty cool spot. Definitely in the river. But I mean, the great thing about Guyana and all that is definitely the scenery in Guyana. There's definitely a lot of really cool stuff, and even more so with Suriname when we talk about it's all covered in forest. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are gonna have a great weekend. There's definitely some really cool um, stuff going on this weekend. For me, I'll be getting ready for Sunday's trip over to Brazil, which should be a really, really nice. Um, should be two really nice flights down over to South America to Macapa and Manaus. So should be some fun flying down there. And then after Sunday, next Friday will be a GA flight from Saint Martin to Manaus. And then next Sunday will be Manaus all the way to Brazil's capital of Brasilia. So, and we'll get to more and more about Brazil's capital city. So, So here it is, guys. Here's the capital city of Guyana, Georgetown, or Guyana. Here's Georgetown. So around this area, you can find the Scarborough Market, the National Museum. All of it's across the coast. So let's go ahead and talk. Let's go ahead and start with our topic for today. This is the country of Suriname is going to be our topic for today. Now, if you guys don't know about Suriname, it's located in the northern part of South America. Sometimes it is considered to be part of the Caribbean and West Indies. Situated slightly north of the equator, over 90% of its territory is covered by rainforest, the highest proportion of forest cover in the world. So it's the world's most forested country. It's bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the north, French Guiana to the east, Guyana to the west, and Brazil to the south. In terms of population and territory, it is the smallest country in South America, with around 612,985 inhabitants in the area, approximately with an area of 163,820 square kilometers. The capital largest city is Paramaribo, which is roughly home to half of the population. It was first settled by the various indigenous people. The Europeans arrived in the 16th century with mainly the Dutch. Unlike most other in fact, Suriname is one of the two countries in South America that wasn't. It's one of the three areas in South America that wasn't controlled by either the Portuguese or the Spanish. The other being French Guiana and France, and Guyana and the British. The Dutch controlled much of the territory as it became a lucrative source of sugar. It became a sugar colony. And Suriname gained independence in 1975. One of the unique things about Suriname is it strongly reflects the culture of and legacy of the Dutch colonial rule. And believe it or not, it is the only sovereign nation outside of Europe where Dutch is the official and prevailing language of government, business, media, and education. That's right. Outside of the Netherlands, only Suriname is the only other place where Dutch is an official language. Which is pretty crazy to think about it. As well. In addition to this as well, Suriname is also an extremely diverse country in terms of ethnicities. In fact, its Muslim and Hindu populations are the largest and third largest, respectively, in the Americas. And it's also one of the least densely populated countries as well. So it's a very unique country in terms of development, growth, diversity, and much, much more. Which definitely sets Suriname apart from many other South American countries. It's currently a developing country with a high level of human development. Its economy is heavily abundant on natural resources like bauxite, gold, petroleum, and agricultural products. And you wouldn't believe this, but it's not only a member of the Caribbean community, but it's also, ironically, also a member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Yep, that's right. Despite Islam not being a majority, it is definitely one of the more interesting countries. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Suriname's interesting history of Suriname. So now, history in Suriname traces back to 3000 BC, with the largest tribes being the Arawak. The largest tribes, they were a nomadic coastal tribe that lived from hunting and fishing, and they were the first inhabitants of the area. The Carib also settled the area and conquered the Arawak using their ships, and they settled in the mouth of the Marowijne River. While the larger tribes lived in the coast and savanna, smaller groups lived in the rainforest, like the Acorio, Trio, Warao, and Wayana. However, the history of Suriname as a colonial possession dates back to the beginning of the 16th century, with French, Spanish, and English explorers visiting the area. A century later, it was the Dutch and English settlers who established plantation colonies among the rich plains. Eventually, though, disputes between the Dutch and English for the control of the territory happened, and in 1667, during negotiations, which led to the Treaty of Breda after the Second Anglo-Dutch War, the Dutch keep the nascent plantation colony of Suriname they had gained from the English. However, in return, the English actually kept the city of New Amsterdam. And if you wonder why New Amsterdam is important, well, what do you think the English changed the name of New Amsterdam to? I'll leave you guys to probably guess what it is. I think you guys probably know what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah, that city became New York. New York City, the Big Apple. And then in 1603, the Society of Suriname was founded in Amsterdam. And they helped control much of the colony. It managed to defend the colony. And the colony heavily relied on African slaves to cultivate, harvest, and process the commodity crops of coffee, cocoa, sugarcane, and cotton. The planters' treatment of the slaves was brutal, even by their own time limit, even by the standards of their time. They were extremely brutal. According to historian C.R. Boxer, man's inhumanity reached its limits in Suriname, and many slaves escaped plantations, and they ended up being in the forest. The society was then eventually nationalized in 1795 by the Batavian Republic, and then its legal successors, equaling the modern-day Kingdom of the Netherlands as a national colony. And then with the help of the native South Americans living in the rainforest, runaway slaves established their own unique culture that was highly successful, known as Maroons. And they developed several independent tribes through ethnogenesis, and they include the Saramaka, Paramaka, Nduka, and other tribes. And they often raided the plantations to recruit new members from the slaves and women, as well as weapons, food, and supplies. Eventually, though, slavery was abolished the Netherlands abolished slavery in Suriname in 1863 under a gradual process that took 10 transitional years for minimum pay and is considered partial compensation for their masters. Now, there wasn't much other history as well. During World War II, the United States military sent 2,000 soldiers to protect the bauxite mines, support the Allied war efforts, and the Dutch government in exile began to renew relations between the Netherlands and its colonies. Officially, in 1974, there would be a local government led by the National Party of Suriname, start negotiations with the Dutch, leading to full independence. This time peacefully as well. And eventually, on November 25th, 1975, Suriname gained independence. However, things were not always so smooth for Suriname's government, as there was a 1980 military coup, and it eventually led to a brutal civil war from 1986 on to 1992. Over 10,000 Surinamese fled to French Guiana. Eventually, though, all the tensions started dying down, though there were protests in 1999. And eventually, in 2020, there were a new election by Chan Santaki, and finally, there were protests in 2023 about living costs. So that concludes a bit of Suriname's history. I gotta take a quick bar break. I'll be back in just a bit. So I'll hope to see you in just about a few minutes. I gotta take a quick break. So we're back here on the stream. Yeah, it's apparently got disconnect issues. This is not usually a thing that's been happening over the past couple of days or so. Something's been going on. So, thank you guys for being patient. So, we're back here. We're flying our way down to New Amsterdam. We'll be coming here pretty shortly. As we make our way, to the landscape here, it's definitely decent looking, like for this part of the world. As always. So, we'll make our way over down to the coast. So, if you just look at the political history of Suriname, let's start with the political history of the country. In terms of its political history, Suriname politically has gone through quite a bit of turmoil over the past decades, but it is a representative democratic republic based on the 1987 Constitution. The legislative branch consists of a government of 51-member unicameral National Assembly. The elections held on Tuesday, May 25th, 2010, with the national seats. The president of Suriname is elected for a 5-year term by a 2/3 majority of the National Assembly. If at least 2/3 of the National Assembly cannot agree to vote on one candidate, a People's Assembly is formed from an all-national delegates and regional municipal representatives. The president may be elected by a majority of the People's Assembly called for the special election. As the head of government, the president appoints a 16-minister cabinet. A vice president is not normally elected for a 5-year term at the same time as the president by a simple majority or the People's Assembly, and there is no constitutional provision for the removal or replacement of the president on the nation. The judiciary is headed by the High Court of Justice of Suriname, the Supreme Court, and supervises the magistrate courts, and the members are appointed for life by the president, in consultation with the National Assembly, State Advisory Council, and the National Order of Private Attorneys. So, pretty interesting stuff about the political stuff with Suriname. So, that is the political history of Suriname covered and the politics of it, the government, how it works. So down in front of us, if you look to our right, you can see the city of Adelphi in New Amsterdam, one of the cities here in Guyana. It's located right in the banks of, it's right in the inlet of New Amsterdam. It's pretty cool. Okay. It's the Berbice River. It's located in the Berbice River, one of the country's major rivers. So, continuing our way down, we're just about 172 nautical miles to the end of our stream. We're just about 40 nautical miles from our first stop. Pretty cool stuff. There's the New Amsterdam and the Delphi to our right. So yeah, I want to ask you guys on plans for this weekend. Later today on Two-Tone Murphy's stream and community, um, he will be talking about the exhibitors for this year's Flight Sim Expo on his stream, along um, with FS Elite, QA pilot, and host of content creators. So they will reveal it at 2100 Zulu. Give a shout for his channel. Afterwards, on Saturday, we have Allison Johnson's stream. She's going to be doing a pretty cool set of flights. On her historical recreation, she will be doing for the 22nd flight of her series. She'll be doing 2 flights on tomorrow. The first is from Oklahoma City International, and she's flying all the way to Bowman Field in Louisville. Yeah, she's flying to an airport that I personally have visited IRL. Bowman Field, and then after Bowman, she'll be flying to John F. Kennedy International in New York. I think at the time it was Idlewind International, but they might have changed its name to JFK after his assassination. So should be pretty exciting. Set of streams this weekend. I know Murph's gonna also be streaming this weekend as well. So should be some really, really nice quality of flight. So let's go ahead and talk about the next part of our slideshow here today. Let's go ahead and talk about Suriname's geography. Because Suriname as a country actually has some really interesting geography to talk about. It is indeed the smallest country in South America, and there are two main geographic regions in Suriname. The lowland coastal area, which is roughly above the line of the Albina area, which most of the people live. And the southern part is the tropical rainforest and sparse inhabited savanna, which is around 80% of the land surface. There's also two little mountain ranges, the Bakhuis Mountains and the Van Osh Van Wijik Mountains. The tallest mountain in the country is Juliana Top at around 4,219 feet above sea level. There's also 6 terrestrial ecoregions, including the Guianan Highlands, Guianan Moist Forest, Paramaribo Swamp Forest, and Guianan Savanna, to name a few. Its forest cover is the highest in the world. Over 90% of the land, about 90% of the land is covered in forest, which is the highest of any nation in the world. In terms of its climate, it's a very wet and tropical climate. The temperature is not very much per year. Average humidity is between 89%, which is why I set the tropical rays because of the really high humidity. Its average temperature is 84 to 93 degrees, but due to the high humidities, the actual temperatures are distorted and may feel up to 11 degrees hotter. So, for example, if it would range at 84 degrees Fahrenheit, it will be at 94 degrees or 93 degrees Fahrenheit is going to be 104 Fahrenheit. Climate change in Suriname is leading to warmer temperatures and more extreme weather events. But another big part about Suriname that goes in its favor has been its biodiversity. Suriname has been an extremely biodiverse country. Not the highest, but it's definitely up there. They found over 1,300 species according to researchers. They discovered over 1,300, almost 1,400 species, including 60 previously unknown species. It's also home to the leatherback sea turtles, dart frogs, and many more animals live in Suriname. They find all sorts of really interesting animals and plants in Suriname. Some of the mammals include the 9-band armadillo, giant anteater, the squirrel monkey, various bat species, spinner dolphins, margarays, tapirs, and even the jaguar found in this area too. Yeah, that forested cover plays a big role in its biodiversity as well. Yeah, that is pretty important to know. We're about ready to cross over the border over to Suriname pretty shortly. So our stop is Sierra Mike November India. I forgot to put notes for that one. So. So. So the airport we'll be checking out here today is Sierra Mike November India. This is Major Hank Fernandez Airport. It's also known as New Nickerie Airport in Suriname. It's actually one of the oldest airports in the country, in use since 1953, when the Piper Cub first landed there. From Zorin Hope Airport in Paramaribo. It's named after Army Major Hank Fernandez, who perished in a helicopter crash in 1982. It mainly was a Hughes 500 that crashed, used for patrol mission. It mainly does a lot of charter flights over to Zorgenhoek Airport. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Yeah, the runway is pretty decently long. It's pretty short, actually, 2,200 feet. So it's used by a lot smaller aircraft. Hmm. So yeah, one of the really cool things about doing these streams is, well, to help people learn about the country. Um, so that's probably why I think I do these streams. But one of the big, so yeah, I only got 2 viewers right now, and I think it's the major reason is because, well, the United States is using daylight savings time, but Europe still hasn't gone to daylight savings time yet, so it's caused some timing changes. So it's what that probably explains why. So we'll land here at the airport, and we'll take a quick break as we get everything loaded, and we'll get everything prepared for the second and final leg of the trip. We'll be covering the rest of Suriname um, with our next leg. We'll do that then, okay? So, I think there's our airport down over here, right on the coast. Go ahead and make our first landing of the day. So yeah, there's our first landing of the day here. Nice landing. Negative 105 according to the here, and negative 183. Perfect landing. Whew, nicely done. So I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be back. I'll take another quick break. And we'll be back for the second leg of our journey. If you guys want to join on in, we're on the Southeast Asian server. We just landed here at Sierra Mike, November, India. And take something that can at least keep up with the good old Cessna 172. So I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, we're back. Let's go ahead and get prepared for the second and last leg of the trip. Here in Suriname. Let's go ahead and get back to our second and last leg of the trip. So yeah, we got the second and last leg left on the trip. And get this plane started. Let's go ahead and climb back up. So we'll be on the way for the second leg. We'll be continuing along the coast and make our way over to Paramaribo. Right on the bank of the Suriname River. So go ahead and get ready for that leg. Let's go ahead and talk about Suriname's economy for a bit. So Suriname's economy um in it gained some strength after the turbulent 1990s thanks to its economy being more diversified and less dependent on Dutch financial assistance. It used bauxite used to be a strong revenue, but has since ended now thanks to the discovery of oil and gold added to its economic independence. Agriculture still remains strong, especially with rice and bananas. And ecotourism is providing new economic opportunities, thanks to the fact that eco due to a lot of it being unspoiled rainforest. Um, Other main export products of Suriname's economy include rice, bananas, and shrimp. Though again, it's exploiting some sizable oil and gold reserves, with its main partners being the Netherlands, the US, Canada, and the Caribbean countries, mainly Trinidad and Tobago. So, all of them play a role in Suriname's economy. In terms of Suriname's culture definitely is extremely diverse, thanks to its multiple different ethnicities, mainly from its combination of people from India, Africa, China, Europe, and Indonesia, as well as the indigenous people, create a very unique patriarchal culture here in Suriname. Uh, For example, there's many different cultural events, including Holy New Year's Day, Holy uh, Phagwa, which is the festival of colors of the spring from Hindu, Labor Day, and the most important holiday, Keti Koti, which is the Emancipation Festival, as well as other ones like Javanese Arrival Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and Eid al-Adha, Feast of Sacrifice. Suriname's rich culture is also reflected with its music. It's well known for the Kasako music in Beatha Ghana are two very popular music genres that were originated here. The term Kasako is derived from the French word "casser le corps," means break the body, and it was used as a swift dance as a fusion of popular and folk styles derived from Africa, Europe, and the Americas. It's rhythmically complex with percussion instruments, snare drum, saxophone, trumpet, and trombone for dancing. Create a very unique style of music that it can only be found here in Suriname. Calypso jazz is also popular, and the country's largest music event is the Surrey Pop Music Festival, or some of the most popular music festival here in the country of Suriname. The cuisine of Suriname is also really extensive because, like I said, people from Suriname come from many countries. So as a result, many of their cuisines combine from Indians, South Asian, West African, Creole, Indonesian, Chinese, Dutch, British, French, Jewish, Portuguese, and Amerindian cuisines. And this is sure that Surinamese cuisine has spawned many unique dishes, and include many iconic dishes, including roti, which is originated in the Caribbean with Indian roots, nasi goreng, which is one of Indonesia's main dishes, bami, Indonesian stir-fried noodle dish, palm, which is a unique Surinamese oven dish made of the arrow leaf, elephant ear root, and more. Chicken is a very popular meat that is used in a lot of their cuisines. Besides the casserole, roti is often served on festive occasions with many guests, and other known dishes include moksi alasi, mixed boiled rice with salted meat, rice and beans, peanut soup, batter fried plantain, and mee goreng are very popular dishes here too. And finally, for desserts, they include boyo, a sweet cake made of coconut and cassava, and fiadu, which is a cake containing raisins, currants, almonds, and sucade, which is a type of candy peeled of citrus, creating unique Surinamese dishes. Definitely sounds quite good, if you ask me. And finally, for sports, sports are a pretty big deal in Suriname, but the major sports in the country include football, basketball, and volleyball. This Suriname Olympic Committee is the national governing body for sports in the country. And in terms of sports for the mind, are chess, draughts, bridge, and a Surinamese sport known as Trofcall. In terms of it, many Suriname-born football players and Dutch-born football players of Surinamese descent have played for the Dutch national team, including Gerald Vandenberg, Ruud Gullit, Frank Rickard, Rischard, Edgar Davids, and more. And one famous one was Humphrey Minjals, who was elected the Surinamese Player of the Century. The only Olympic medalist for Suriname was swimmer Anthony Nesty. He won gold in the 100-meter butterfly at the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. Cricket's also popular to some extent, thanks to its popularity in in the Netherlands and Guyana. So that's about sports for a bit. So culture and sports are covered right here. So for next week's schedule, for Sunday, I'll get working on the Brazil notes. So I'll only go over a little bit of the notes for Brazil because, um, like I said, Brazil's a huge country, and I want to spread out these notes over a period of a couple of hours. So I want to spread these notes over a couple streams. That's what I'm planning on doing. Okay. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys learned some interesting information about Suriname. If you guys like what you see, do feel free, and haven't followed the channel, smash that follow button, support the channel. Here's my Discord if you guys are so interested in checking it out. It's got information and news, images, and more from all my streams and content here on Twitch. Um, Definitely some pretty cool stuff in this area. Got quite a few lakes and stuff. The satellite data around us isn't that great. To be fair, this South America in general doesn't have really the greatest satellite data. So yeah, guys, there are some other aviation news I want to talk about. Simple. Some more aviation news and insight. There's definitely some pretty interesting news and stuff. So one is a topic about the world's longest Boeing 767 flights. The old 767. But the world's longest flight in the 76 is from Houston Intercontinental over to Munich, and they fly this daily, which is about over 5,400 nautical miles, 5,417 miles, and it takes around a block time of 11 hours. Followed by New York City to Accra in Africa, then Houston Intercontinental to Rio, Atlanta over to Buenos Aires, and then JFK into Honolulu. So, but yeah, it's mainly Delta and United who flies those 767. The good old 76. But yeah, I'm very excited for that 777, right, guys. It's gonna be the 300 ER, which is just really good though, because the 777 ER is the most popular variant. Yeah, I can't wait to fly this on the stream. Because I mean, there's multiple great hubs I can probably pick to fly that 777. I think most likely probably either be that East US hub in Pittsburgh, or our Dubai hub, or Zurich, or Japan. We can fly basically any of our hubs except for our West US hub at Tahoe. That would have been a great pick to put that 777. Mm, yeah, the landscape here definitely isn't too bad around here, for sure, around the coast. We just got under we're just 100 nautical miles away from our final stop at Sierra Mike Juliet Papa. We're gonna get pretty much closer to Paramaribo, the capital city. So we should get there in about the flight would be about an hour of flight, so 2 to Suriname. So that's definitely some pretty cool stuff. It also, that simple flying site, I'm also looking at some of the busiest routes, international routes from Seattle. 5 is Cancun with 19 weekly flights to Cancun International. 4 is Seoul with 19 weekly flights tied with that. Then San Jose to Cabo, which we actually, it's right next to Cabo San Lucas. And second is London Heathrow to London, which is a true long haul one. And final, number one is Vancouver. So pretty cool stuff to learn about for sure. Let's go ahead and talk about the next thing, transportation Suriname. So in transportation sake, Suriname's transportation is quite diverse, and there are increasing parts of it. There is about 166 kilometers of rail, but they're not really much in use for a long time. There's about over 4,000 kilometers of hot roads and highways. However, Suriname's unique among South American countries. They're actually the only two countries in the inland American continent that drive on the left side of the road. Everyone else drives on the right, but Suriname drives in the left side. However, the most important means of transport in Suriname is waterways, thanks to the many various ports and harbors across the country. And apparently, vessels with up to 7 meters of draft can actually travel through many of the waterways here in the country. But the main harbor for cargo is the Jules Sydney Harbor. And of course, for airports, there are 55 airports in the country. Only 6 of them, mostly small airports. And the only international airport that can support large jets is Johan Adolf Pengel International Airport, which is where we're going to end up later today. At the end of our journey, we'll reach there. And yes, Suriname has its own flag carrier airline, actually. And that is Suriname Airways. It's the only it's the flag carrier of Suriname. It's also known in Dutch as Suriname's Luchtvaart Maatschappij. SLM is the flag carrier of Suriname based in Paramaribo. It operates regional and long-haul scheduled passenger service with its hub at Johan Adolf Pengel International. And it's owned by the government of Suriname, founded in 1953. It only has 2 planes in the fleet, with 500 employees. It was established back in 1953 by private entrepreneurs Rudy Koppel and Hernan van Eck as the Koppel van Eck Company, operating feeder flights from a domestic network. And its scheduled operations started with 2 Cessna 170Bs with domestic flights between Paramaribo and Moengo. Were the first thing. Eventually, though, in 1962, the company was purchased from Herman van Eck by the Surinamese government and named Suriname Airways. The logo is actually a sabaku, which is the Surinamese word for the cattle egret. Then they start international operations to Curacao for their first international operations. And then once the country gained independence in 1979, it was appointed as the national carrier of the Republic of Suriname. And it started services to Amsterdam using the DC-8 that was leased from KLM at the time. Because, you know, the Dutch and Surinamese governments have a very close relationship. That's a pretty big role in that. And then here's a variety of other stuff through its history. At March 1980, the carrier had 400 employees, with their fleet consisting of a Douglas DC-863, DC-850CF, and three DHG-6 twin R's for domestic routes. It also it operated international routes to Amsterdam, Belém, Brazil, Curaçao, Georgetown, Guyana, Manaus, Brazil, Miami, and Panama City, and domestic services to other airports across the country. From 1955 to 2005, Suriname Airways operated an extensive domestic network. They also started to do some regional routes in the 737. And then a very well-known crash happened in 1989, tragically, on approach to the international airport, and it killed 175 occupants on board. And it was flight 764, Suriname Flight Airways Flight 764, and it crashed during a DC-8 on approach, and is the deadliest aviation disaster in its history, due to the lack of deficiencies in crew training and judgment. So, from 1986 to 1999, they also used an MD-80 as well, and then eventually they cut down a lot of the network of it as well. And most recently, as of 2024, they had to retire their Boeing 737. So in terms of destinations, Suriname Airways flies to destinations including Georgetown, Guyana, Miami, Florida, Curaçao, Portsmouth, Trinidad, Tobago, Belém, Brazil, and Aruba are many of the destinations they fly from Suriname Airways. Yeah, they don't really have very much aircraft. They had to terminate a lot of destinations since they no longer fly in Suriname, because Suriname has a lot, because they actually have a lot of competition now in Suriname, because there are other airlines that can now do general aviation charter services to the interior of Suriname. And of course, their fleet consists of, as of March 2024, their fleet consists of an Airbus A340-300, which is soon to be retired, and a 737-800. Notable aircraft they operated in the past include a 777-200ER, MD-80, and a Boeing 737-300. So that is just a little bit of the history of Suriname's flag carrier. I wanted to include that since I think that would be a pretty fun thing to teach and educate people about. So, so. So to our right, we can definitely see definitely more waterways. Again, the one thing that Suriname definitely is well known for is all the waterways um, throughout the country. This means water transport is insanely important for this country. Transport everything from hard goods, services, and much more. So we're just 70 nautical miles away. So we're not too much farther. And I think we're about less than just about less than 50 nautical miles away from the capital city of Paramaribo. We're not that much farther away from our final stop. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy the start of your weekend. I know for me this weekend I'm almost at 1 million XP. I might hit 1 million XP for Firefly Air today, so that would be huge. 1 million career XP. I have way too much time flying. Beautiful landscape here today. So let's go ahead and complete some of the other slides for us while we're here. Let's go ahead and complete some of the other slides. So we have tourism Suriname. So tourism is a bit of a most tourists visit here for its biodiversity thanks to its rainforest. In fact, one of the most popular reserves is the Central Suriname Nature Reserve. Um, Feature tons of wildlife, and ecotourism is playing a huge role. There's also many waterfalls people like to visit and natural scenery. It's also one of the few countries in the world where at least one has each bottom has a wildlife reserve. Other ones include plantations such as the Larwijik, which is a settlement and former sugar plantation, and it can only be reached by boat. However, do be known for tourists. Um, uh, However, crime rates continue to rise in the city, and armed robberies are not uncommon, so people need to be very careful when they travel through Suriname. But at least it isn't as bad as some other places. Haiti. other places. So should be some pretty cool stuff, as always. The next part about Suriname that I want to talk over is some of the fun facts. So there are a couple of fun facts about Suriname that's worth talking about. Suriname River is one of the longest rivers in South America, and no joke, it is one of the. It is definitely one of South America's longest rivers. It's 300 miles long. It is a very important source for transportation, fishing, and hydroelectric power. Of course, I mentioned earlier part of the culture segment, but they have their own celebration for its diverse ethnicities known as Kedi Kodi, the breaking of the chain. The Suriname Guiana Shield is one of the oldest geological formations in the world, and it's dated to be over 2 billion years old. It provides a unique ecosystem for plant and animal life, and it's home to, including the critically endangered Surinamese fire monkey, a critically endangered species that lives in the unspoiled forest of Suriname. But yeah, Suriname is definitely a great area for ecotourism. So yeah, these are some pretty cool fun facts about Suriname. Here, some of the landmarks in the city include Fort Zeelandia, which is an old fort that was built to protect the colonies from foreign attackers. It is an old colonial fort, and it features a museum. 19, I mean, a chance to go through the museum gives you a chance to go through the fort building, a 1790s warehouse, officer quarters, and a guardhouse. That would be pretty cool to learn about the colonial history of this through Fort Zeelandia. Then we have the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral with its impressive Gothic Roman architectural design. Huge rose window and massive windows. It is one of the tallest wooden churches in the Caribbean in this part of the world. And the Galilee Nature Reserve, one of the most biologically diverse areas in the region, home to many species of fauna and flora. So, should be pretty cool to learn. that's some really cool information. We only got, after this, we only got 2 more slides for today about Suriname, and we can wrap up the stream. So let's see who's flying along with us. Let's take a look outside. Yeah, definitely a pretty cool flight today. Nice and chill. That's the best kind of flying, is the one that's nice and chill. I appreciate you guys coming here. Thank you guys so much for coming along here today for the stream. I really enjoyed my time here as well for Turnaround Suriname. I hope you guys got a pretty good history lesson about Suriname, a bit of its history, a brief overview of the country. Yeah, can't wait to visit our first really big country of this trip, and one of the world's largest countries of Brazil. Yeah, when I was doing this flight plan, I had a tough choice. Would I continue to fly along the coast of Brazil, reaching Salvador, like Natal, Recife, Salvador, all the way down to Rio, or would I actually do something more of the Amazon and the rainforest? Ultimately, after much decision, I decided to do the rainforest, since the Amazon rainforest is one of the world's great natural wonders, and I thought that would be a great place to do some flying. Even if the satellite isn't the greatest, I've been always wanted to do a stream in the Amazon rainforest. This would be for the Amazon rivers. This would be a really great opportunity to do some flying in that part of the world. But basically for Brazil, we just fly, after going to Manaus, we're going to probably go to Brasilia, and do 2 short flights to Belo Horizonte, and then from there over to Rio de Janeiro. More specifically, to our hub at Galileo Antonio. Then afterwards, we'll probably do some flying in the King Air to Sao Paulo and Curitiba. We'll be doing some flying around there. And now prepare for eventually crossing over and visit Iguazu Falls and to Paraguay, which should be pretty cool. And then for Paraguay, we'll make our way over to Uruguay and then cover all over about Venezuela. And then about Argentina, go all the way down to the Cape of Good Horn, and then we go through South America. That should be a bunch of fun for South America. Cannot wait. So let's talk about Suriname's capital city, Paramaribo, or Parbo, as it's called by the locals. It is the capital, largest city of Suriname, home to 241,000 people, almost half of the country's population. The historic inner city of Paramaribo has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2002. It was actually named for the Paramaribo tribe living on the mouth of the Suriname River. The earliest, it was founded in 1613 as a trading post by Nicolas Ballestel and Derek Clayzoun van Sonnen. The English administration also tried to establish settlements there, but all the other ones were abandoned before the Dutch got here. But the population of the city has always been diverse, as among the first British settlers were Jews, and some of the oldest synagogues in the Americas were actually founded here in Paramaribo, which one of them is the Neve Shalom Synagogue. Then the population increased after 1873, when former slave peoples were allowed to stop working their plantations and moved here. It has remained the capital of Suriname for the colonial days through the independence to present day. It has suffered several devastating fires over the years, as well. But Paramaribo definitely is a very important city, not just for historical reasons, but economically as the business and financial center of the country. And even though it does not produce significant goods, almost all the revenues from the company's main exports are channeled through its institutions here in Paramaribo, and tourism has been an increasingly important sector with many visitors from the Netherlands. And of course, the inner center of the town features many historical architects and buildings and preserved throughout the decade, including the Presidential Palace, the Roman Catholic St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, and the National Assembly are some of the old notable landmarks as well of the city, of its old Dutch heritage. And finally, and that will be Paramaribo. So we're just about to approach the capital city. We'll definitely take some pictures here of this historic South American capital. So that talks about Paramaribo. I want to say thank you for all the people here, both in the chat and the lurkers, for coming here on today's stream. This has been a great time. And we're going to complete another country off the list. get to complete Suriname. We still got a lot more nations to go left in the Americas, which includes Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia will complete South America, and I'll complete another part of the journey. And then the rest of the part would be the other parts of Central America plus some parts of the United States. However, for the United States, I won't be giving you guys the history of the U.S. until we reach the U.S. again from Europe. So, but I will give you the places and all that we'll visit from all the places. Paramaribo. Capital Suriname. Yeah, imagine this place right here is home to almost half this country's population lives in this one area. That makes sense. I mean, it's right next to the big old Suriname River coast. So, this is the capital city, Paramaribo. Beautiful area. And now we're going to head over to the last stop. Our last slide for Suriname is this. Johan Adolf Pengel Airport. It's the main international gateway to Suriname. It's Sierra Mike Julia Papa. It's located in the town of Zanderich, and it's the hub for the airline carrier Suriname Airways. It's the larger of Suriname's two international airports, the other being Zorg and Hope. However, this airport was opened back in the pre-World War II days. It was known as Zandri Airport, and it was a stop for Pan American Airways for their flights from Miami to Paramaribo. And rich and famous Americans often visited there during the time. In fact, it was also where Laura Ingalls landed her single-engine plane, the Lockheed Air Express, to become the first solo flight around South America in a land plane. Also, the Kilo Trimotor, the Snipe, made a translate across from Amsterdam via Paramaribo to Curacao with carrying mail, and it made over almost 12,000 kilometers after Schiphol here as well. But the big and also Amelia Earhart flew here too when she landed here as well during her around the world trip that unfortunately disappeared in Howland Island. However, this place really grew in importance, however, during World War II. When the Netherlands fell to German forces, the U.S. obtained military basing rights from the Netherlands government, as Suriname was then at the time the main source of bauxite. So the U.S. sent troops there and massively built this airport to become one of the most important transport bases in the war for the South Atlantic route, ferrying planes to Freetown Airport in Sierra Leone, and onwards to the European African theaters of the war, as well as many anti-submarine patrols over the southern Caribbean and South Atlantic coastlines. After the war, the U.S. would eventually hand it back to civilian purposes, and it started with a couple of flights across the United States. Many presidents landed here, as well as the first ever wide jet airliner to land in South America went here in 1972. Even was big enough to serve the world's largest cargo plane, the AN-225 Myriad, due to the fact it has one of the largest runways in the Caribbean region. So, as well. And it currently features flights to destinations such as Port of Spain, Panama City, Caracas, Havana, Georgetown, Belém, Curacao, Amsterdam, Aruba, and Miami are some of the destinations served from this airport. But yeah, how cool is that, guys? Sometimes these airports often have very interesting history. Very interesting. But yeah, especially with Laura Ingalls. She actually went and landed for her fly around South America. She did the first solo fly around South America. That would, however, she also was kind of infamous for her activities as a Nazi agent, apparently. So, okay, guys, we're just gonna land in runway 11. Runway 11 is where we're gonna land here today. This has been a very fun flight, guys. This was very, very enjoyable. So let's go ahead and prepare for the final landing. Let's see if there's anyone else who wants to fly along with us. Guys, I think we officially made it to Suriname. This was a great stream. Oh, yep, perfect. -100 landing on here. -182, almost basically the same landing as I did the first leg. Well, guys, that's it, everyone. What a nice flight down here. Here in Suriname, guys. That completes another South American country. And now we're in Suriname, guys. This was a nice flight. Nice chill stream. Very relaxing. So guys, thank you all so much. Thank you guys so much for coming here as always. We'll be prepared for the next stream on Sunday. We're gonna rate someone here today. I hope you all take care and have a great rest of the day. And see you on Sunday. Bye. Oh my goodness, We Fly Daily. Hey, good to see you. It's just the end of the stream. Whoops. But yeah, I hope to see you again soon, my dude.